boy AJ from AJ's Way. Today's video is about the time I met Devon Franklin and Meagan Good. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, this is nobody but God who orchestrated this whole thing to happen. So I'll get into the story. Y'all know I love to talk, so just sit down. I hope you ain't too busy. Take a seat, relax, and enjoy, because this is just going to be a great story. So back in February, I was still in college. Let me go back even further than that. So I read the book The Wait by Devon Franklin and Meagan Good. So interesting how that happened, because he came to my school, Savannah State University, him and Meagan on their book tour. That had to be my sophomore year. They came a part of our homecoming week events, which I thought was very interesting for them to come, and talk about God and just different stuff. I really liked that. And so I lined up for that event, standing in line. It was supposed to be upstairs in our student union. We have like different ballrooms, or sometimes like A, B, C, and D, and sometimes they have like partition walls and different stuff like that. But if it's a really big event, they'll just move all the walls and have it like all open areas. So I'm in line. I was kind of mad because I didn't get there. I thought I got there early, but leave it to other people. I did not get there as early because the line was super long. So they found out that it was just getting over capacitated, and they had to move it to our arena where we have our basketball games and different events. So they turned the line around. So I go from being in the back of the line to being in the front of the line. That's nobody but God. Thank you, God. Yeah, we were going in. I was sitting on the front row. I was right there. And so it was a crowd of people. People started showing up. And so then they had microphones in between each aisle, like lined up, and then they had some further back as well for questions that we may have for them. So they sat there. I mean, they were just so interesting to listen to, and inspiring words and just prophetic things that they had to say. They held hands the whole time, and it was just really good. So it was a guy that we had interviewing them and just asking them about the book and how they met and just their story. Great things. I was just sitting there like this. Like, I think I was just looking like, I felt like I was a little kid in kindergarten, sitting on the reading little circle, and your teacher's reading to you. So it was just so amazing. But I'm a very bold person. I'm never at a loss for words. But at that moment when they opened up the floor for questions, I just didn't know where to start. Hearing them talk about the wait really did something to me, and it struck a chord in my heart. And so later on, they had the meet and greet, but I didn't know you had to have the book to meet them. I just thought that they were letting us, snap some pictures and meet them for a second. So I line up, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get my picture, Devon Franklin. I didn't know him as well at the time, but I was like, Meagan Good, okay, what's up? But I stood in line, and then they told me, well, security guard, somebody said, do you have the book? Because they were checking everybody to see if they had the books. And I was like, no, I don't have the book. I don't have it. And so they were just saying that I had to leave. Unfortunately, you have to have the book to meet them. And I was like, man. But I vowed that day, okay, I did not get that chance to meet them, but if I ever get another chance to meet them, I will have read The Wait and highlighted and make notes and everything and have so much to say about it. So little did I know, a few days later, one of my friends, I went to her room. She had it on like her nightstand or something, or her dresser. She had it on her dresser. And I asked, could I read it or borrow it? She let me have it. She said her mom had got it for her. She just never got around to reading it. But if I wanted to, I can take it. So I said, okay. I took it and I read it. I just dove so deep into it. It was just so good. I was highlighting. I was just all in with this book. And everywhere I went, I kind of wasn't afraid to see people watch me read it, like in public, or if I was in the cafeteria on campus, or just in class or just had some downtime and I was reading it, I would be kind of ashamed in a way, because it's like, I'm in college. It's supposed to be, the time you single, ready to mingle, you partying, doing your little thing. But I am reading The Wait. But then I was like, no, I'm not going to be ashamed of that. This is what I want to pursue, and God is placing that on my heart, and this book is meant to invoke that. So I was reading it. I would get different people coming by and say, man, how's that book? I want to read that. Or I was told that this was a good book and this and that. And I was like, you just got to read it for yourself. I mean, I would show them, look how much I've highlighted and written in the margins. This is good. So I read that. Great. So then fast forward. So I read that book at the end of my sophomore year. So I read it end of my sophomore year. It took me a minute, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I was in it, reading it, but then I was busy with school and summer stuff, and I was reading it through the summer. Then I finally finished it my junior year because it was just so good. I just felt that I had to give it my undivided attention. I couldn't just flip through it. No, I had to actually analyze what I was reading. So fast forward now to junior year. Yeah, like I said, I finished it. Then going on to senior year. So Devon Franklin, so I've been following him for a while then, since sophomore year. I remember, I'll insert this from that event that he took a selfie in the crowd, and you can see me right there. I think I circled my face, so I'm gonna insert that right here. I follow him, listen to some of his teachings and sermons and just words of wisdom and interviews. I watched some of his movies that he's produced because he's a producer. I saw that Miracles from Heaven, The Breakthrough, which was so good. I went with a couple of church friends and it was really, really good. The Star, which is an animated film, it was really good about the birth of Jesus, but from the animal standpoint. It was really, really good. And yeah, so that's what's been going on. So I've been following him for a while. So then I see he comes out with another book called The Truth About Men, What Men and Women Need to Know. So I was like, okay, I got to get this. Little did I know he was going to come to Atlanta for his book tour. I saw he was coming around and I was like, man, I wish he would come to Atlanta. I promise you all, I ordered the book on like a weekday. And so, the Amazon Prime for college students, you can get the free trial and stuff like that. So it came pretty quick. This is a picture of me taking delivery of my book on a Wednesday. It was a Dress for Success Wednesday at my college. Look at your boy. And then here he comes on Friday or Thursday, maybe Thursday, saying that he's going to be in Atlanta Friday through Sunday, I believe, or Saturday through Sunday on his Truth About Men book tour. And I was like, that is amazing. That's God sent right there. I just said that in my head. I stopped what I was doing. I called my mom. I was saying that I'm coming home to come to this. If you want to come with me, you can. If you don't want to come, that's fine. So she wanted to come with me. So I came home. I think I might have, I came home Friday evening. No, I actually came home Saturday morning. I came home. I was like, Mom, you got to be home by this time. We're going to head up to Barnes & Noble's in Buckhead. And we gonna listen to this man. We went and we actually got there around 4, 5. It didn't start till 7, let's say 7:30, I believe. Or somewhere around 7. And my mom is looking at me all crazy saying, son, why are we here so early? I just wanted to be there because I promised myself and I promised God, I was saying that if I ever got a chance to meet him again, that I would. And then he brought Meagan Good as well. So that was great. So I brought The Wait with me and I brought The Truth About Men. And my mom also bought a copy for one of her friends. He was going through some relationship things, so she bought one for him. And we're just sitting there and I'm just so excited. We're on the front row. We're sitting right there. So his publicists and security guards, they come in to scope it out to see where they want his close family and friends and Meagan to sit. So they were gonna put them in front of us, make a row in front of me and my mom. And then his publicist was saying that never mind. These people got here really early. We want them to enjoy it, so we'll put them on the row. Kind of like we were right here on this row on the left side, left center-ish kind of. And then so they made another row to the right of us. It was so amazing that we got there that early, and they interviewed me. So it's on his YouTube channel. I'll link that below too. You'll see me. It's a short clip. And then also in his other video, you'll see the back of my big head. I'm wearing like this burgundy shirt with white polka dots on it. So you'll see me just in the front right there. I feel like he was talking right to me. I'll insert the video of everything that transpired. So long story short, got there, first people there, everybody starts showing up, and then it gets so crowded. People are sitting in the aisles, on the floor, on the steps. People are outside. It's crazy how so many people, and I looked over at my mom like, aren't you glad we got here early? And so they interviewed me, like I said, with his film and videographer. They interviewed me, asked me what did I expect to get out of the event, and I told them. And then the event just went on. He walked in, Meagan Good, some of Devon's family, and everything. It was a very, very good event. And so I just felt that he was just talking straight to me, you know, man to man, man of God to man of God. And it was just an amazing experience. That's all I can say. You just had to be there to witness the sheer power of God. And, you know, your test will come, your testimony, all that you've been through will help you bless somebody else. Your story that God has gotten all the glory out of. So we go on, listen to everything. Then another moment happens to where I think it was the question time. He read some excerpts from his book. We did the Master's Pledge for Men. We stood up and did that. And then we had question time. So I was trying to formulate a question in my head, you know, listen to other people's questions. And then I raised my hand finally at the last minute because the Barnes & Noble's lady said they kind of had to wrap it up or get to the book signing part. And so he said, I'll take 2 more questions. So I was raising my hand and he was like, my man in the front, I will get back to you because you're right here in the front, but let me get this young lady. So this young lady, she was sitting on the floor and then she stood up and asked her question. And she said, I'm waiting for marriage, you know, saving myself for marriage. And being that she was 20, I was 21 at the time. So she was either 22 or 23. And she said that she was saving herself, and a lot of men try to convince her otherwise, say that maybe you should just test the waters, or, oh, you're too young to be thinking like this, and all things like that. And I'm sitting in my head like, man, that's exactly, I was going to ask that question from a man's perspective. And so he told her, you know, I'd rather a person to be single than to settle for second best or settle for someone just because, and they end up, you know, messing over you. He wants everyone to protect their happiness, their wholeness, and their peace than to just be with somebody just for the heck of it. And so I was like, wow, that was some good advice. So then here I go, raising my hand, and I said my question is similar to hers, but from a man's perspective. I'm a young 21-year-old man, soon to graduate from college, and people clap for that. And then I started speaking, and before I could finish, everybody was just going wild. Even Devon Franklin and Meagan Good was saying, whoa, I've had crazier things happen at other events, but he was like, you never know. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told her. And then he was kind of like pointing back and forth, and everybody was trying to make a love connection. And it was really cool. And it actually did work. We kind of went on a few dates after that, but it just didn't work out. And it's nothing that I did wrong, nothing that she did wrong. It just wasn't meant to be maybe at this time. But thanks, Devon. I still appreciate you for the hookup. It was a good experience. And so yeah, I'll just have to link the videos in here so you guys can see. I screen recorded on Devon Franklin's page as well as Meagan Good's page, but I won't put both because it's the same video just from different angles, because she was sitting over here and then his videographer was on like the left side of the room. So I'll put that in there. Then, I mean, the book signing comes and we get our book signed, but so many people were just watching me and her, and I made my way over to the young lady, and talking to her. So many people were just like, can we be in the wedding? I was like, whoa. Even Devon Franklin heard it from across the room. He was like, hold on, y'all. Let them date first. He was like, Tonio, date her first. And he was like, but that would be cool. You know, if we did get married, of course, I would give him all the props, even have him marry us. And he was joking and saying we were in Barnes & Noble's Baptist, and we were just talking, and we captivated the crowd. So many people were just watching like, oh, are they hitting it off? Is this going to be a thing? And so then they took another video of us two together, asked us about our experience and what happened tonight. And I was at a loss for words, and she ended up talking for the both of us. Then we just kept talking. And then Devon Franklin is like, wait around at the end. We want to talk to you two, me and Meagan. And we both looked at each other like, wow, okay. And so we waited to the end. Everybody was gone. It was just Meagan Good, Devon Franklin, his publicist, his family, my mom, the young lady. It was just a godsend moment. They were talking to us, and I talked about waiting and got a little emotional, and his publicist was tearing up, and you know, his family had winked, and my mom was like, this is a good young man, a man of his faith, and it was just a godsend moment. So I'm gonna link some like I said, the YouTube channels in here, and I'm gonna show you the clips and some pictures so you can get a good visual. I can sit up here and talk and recreate the whole scenario, but it's best that I just let the video do the explaining. So thank you all for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And Devon Franklin, I hope you watch this too, my brother. I've been meaning to post this for a while, but I just been so busy and haven't gotten the chance to post this. So yeah. Oh yeah, just to prove to y'all, I wasn't playing. This is the weight. This is the truth about men. Signed copies, okay? And actually, how you know God was in it too, he was not supposed to put personalized messages. He was just supposed to go fast and just sign his name. But they wrote your boy's name in here, Antonio. It says, Antonio, love wins. You are worth it. And then it's signed by Meagan Good Franklin and Devon Franklin. And this is the weight. And like I said, it is highlighted up. I mean, I'm gonna show you a good one. I mean, I wrote in the margins. Uh-oh, coming apart. I wrote in the margins. I mean, it's everywhere. Wasn't playing about this book either. And then it's The Truth About Men, this new book. Then I got this signed as well, and they put Antonio again. Bam! And same thing in here. Highlighting, writing, all over the place. And this is just a few, just showing y'all how it looks. Yeah, it's legit. Reading is fundamental, especially when it has God in it.
Worth all of them to get here. He said, don't play with my daughters. He said, they're my daughters. They're not your objects. And that convicted me because I realized, wait, here I am just buying into this false idea of manhood, letting the quote unquote dog within ruin and run my life. And then what do I have to show for it? And this is one of the things that why I'm so passionate about this message and why I believe that this message can change our culture. For this reason, for the men in the house, if you have all the sex you can have, if you have all the women you can have, at the end of our life, is it worth it? What do we have to show for it? All the money we spent, all the dates we went on, all the women we had, what do we have to show for it? Nothing. A trail of broken hearts, sometimes children that we weren't even intending, money that we could have spent towards our purpose, and then we say this is what real manhood is? This is why the culture is going in the direction, because we're doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We as men have to make the decision that it starts and stops with me. I will break the cycle of what is taking us in the wrong direction. Who am I talking to tonight? We can do it. But we gotta stop believing that these things that we've been buying into for generations are gonna work. They will not. So I, as a man, had to realize, okay, I've got to change. I've got to figure this out. So what did that mean? It meant I've got to start being honest about what my intentions are. Oh boy. Now this is what gets difficult sometimes. Because as a man, when you're honest about your intentions, that isn't always well received and it's hard to do it. But I had to start telling the women I was dating, hey, I don't think we should date. Why? Because my intention for you is not pure. And I don't see a long-term future for us. So I need to be honest with you. Wow. Yes. This is the type of honesty and truth that is going to help transform our culture. Now, for the women in the house, here's what's so important. Do not get caught in a gray area if you are single or dating. What does a gray area look like? It looks like you talk all the time, you text all the time, but you really aren't sure if you're together. Come on now. You may have met his parents, he may have met your parents. Y'all may go to church all the time. But never have you got to ask the question, are we committed? Yeah. Are we monogamous? Are we exclusive? Are you seeing anybody else? When you don't know exactly where you are in an area of massive liability. Why? Because the one who has the information in your dating situation is the one who has the power. Yeah. So I wrote this book to give you the power back. Because if you're in a gray area, you got to get out of it. How do you get out of it? By asking clear, direct questions and waiting for clear, direct responses. And if you don't understand his answer, ask him again. I didn't quite understand what you meant there. It's a yes or no. There is no maybe. It's not a multiple choice question. Are we exclusive? Are we not? Are you seeing anybody else or are you not? Because I need to know so I can make the decisions I want for my life. Yeah. Here's also what's so important. To begin to identify the type of man you're dealing with. You know, what are they committed to? Have you asked the question, where are you going? And what do you want out of life? Too often, especially in a dating sense, and I'm gonna get to marriage in a minute, especially in a dating sense, we go with people where they want to go, not where we want to go. How many people have the Uber or Lyft app on your phone? All right. What happens when you use that app, right? You open up the app and what happens? You decide where you want to go. Yep. And after you decide where you want to go, when you leave this place, you get in the car and the first thing you do is to check. Are you the car that I called? And are you going where I want you to go? What happens if you find yourself in the wrong car?
Get out.
You get out.
Hopefully you get out.
When you are dating, you got to treat it just like Uber or Lyft. Are you the car that I prayed for? And are you going where I want you to go? Because if we want to go to different places, I'm getting out of this car. We ain't dating no, you get what I'm saying? Time is short. And sometimes we squander our time because we don't ask enough questions up front to even determine if this person is worthy of our airspace. Right? So important to identify, are you going the place that I want to go? What are your commitments? That way you can make a decision if this is the right person for you. And as men, we have to stop buying into this idea that more is better. It's not. It's not. Just one brings something out of you that the many can never. Yeah, you can clap on that. That's a nice clapping moment. And what is that? Love. So many people, when they hear about this book, they're like, oh, you're calling men dogs. I'm like, no, I'm not. I say in the introduction, men are not dogs at all. But I use this dog analogy to help understand how lust operates. But I said the real issue that we're not focusing on is love. How do we become masters? Mastery is love, the practice of love. What is love? It means I put others' needs before mine. I put the well-being of other people sometimes before my well-being. I love my family so much. I love my wife so much. I love my community so much that sometimes I'm going to live a life of sacrifice because what they need is sometimes more important than what I need. And when we as men begin to do that, there's nothing we cannot do in this world. But it's about mastery because we live in a culture that wants to foster lust. I don't have to tell you the music. I don't have to tell you the TV shows. Come on, I'm going to tell you the movies. We live in a culture that feeds the dog. This is why it's so important to feed the master. What does the master need? Virtue. What does the master need? It needs honesty. It needs transparency. It needs truth. And this is why I wrote this book, because so often we don't live in truth. Every man in here, whether you're going to say amen or not, struggles between love and lust. And the truth be told, every woman does too. All right. Brother, you can say amen. Yeah, that's right. Let's speak the truth. It's the truth. But here's why I did not write this book about what women need to do better. Because I believe that the majority of women are doing their work, and I believe you're already doing what you need to do. So I do touch on this book a little bit about the lust in women, but I primarily focus on us as men because I believe we're the ones that need to do the work. And we're the ones that need to honor our commitments, and we're the ones that really need to learn how to love. So in a marriage sense, I'll talk about this and then we'll take some questions and we'll sign books and all that good stuff, take pictures. In a marriage sense, it's so important. How many people here are married? Amen. I ain't close. It's okay. It's all right. You closer than you think. See, stop speaking that. You don't even know. You don't even know who's here. Somebody you don't even realize. You might step out this place and bam, there's your husband waiting for you. Come on, somebody, give it up. Come on, speak life. I'm not going to speak death over here. Speaking of which, I'll give you a commercial break. We'll come right back to our regular scheduled program. My next movie is called Breakthrough. Anybody heard of the movie yet?
And the trailer, saw the trailer.
Yeah, saw the trailer? We just hit 100 million views on this trailer. What is the story? Because I want to talk about speaking life, and we'll come right back to our regular scheduled program. This movie is a story I found years ago while I was promoting Miracles from Heaven, which is another film that I produced.
Seen that too.
Amen. You like that? But you're going to love Breakthrough. I guarantee it. Here's the story. A 14-year-old boy, John Smith, falls through a frozen lake. The interesting thing about John Smith is he was adopted when he was 6 months old from Guatemala. He was raised in a predominantly white environment in the suburbs of St. Louis, and as he got older, he always questioned why he wasn't wanted, why his birth mother did not want him. But his adopted mother, Joyce, said, you are wanted, you are loved, you have a purpose, God put you with us. Like, I know your birth mother may have done what she did, but this is all God's divine purpose. Amen. He would hear her, but he would never really understand and feel deeply what she meant. Long story short, he's 14 years old, a little rebellious. He goes out on a frozen lake with his two friends. They fall through the ice. Next thing you know, the two friends are able to get out, but our kid, John, he drowns. He dies. He's trapped underneath the ice for 15 minutes without oxygen. They bring him up. Once they rescue him, he is completely dead. They take him to the emergency room. They try to revive him for another 45 minutes. They can't do it. They go to Joyce, his mother, and say, if you want to say goodbye to your son, now's the time. We've done all that we can do. She goes into the emergency room. There's her son laid out dead. She says, I do not accept this. I don't believe that God would allow him to die this way. So instead of speaking death, she speaks life. Why is this so important? Because so often we allow what we see here to determine how we pray and what we believe. Do not speak death over something because you see it here. You have no idea what God may want to do, so you got to speak life even in the face of something that doesn't look like it's going to work. So she goes in that emergency room and she says, Holy Spirit, bring back my son right now. And guess what? His heart started beating again. The EKG machine started going off. Do you know that they were blown away? They airlifted him to another hospital. The doctor said, I heard what happened at that other hospital. But even if John recovers, he was without oxygen for 15 minutes. He's going to be a vegetable. And Joyce said, stop talking negative around my son. He can hear you. Now, mind you, he was in a coma. She said, 2, you're supposed to be the best. You do what you're supposed to do and you let God do the rest. And she said, 3, I guarantee you my son will get up and walk out of here. Turn to your neighbor and say, speak life.
Speak life.
Turn to the other neighbor and say, you got to speak life.
You gotta speak life.
Come on now. And if you can't speak life, don't say nothing. All right? Man, listen. I'm speaking life over your love life right now. I don't know who I'm talking about. I'm speaking life over. You think that thing is on life support? God's getting ready to resurrect your love life. Who am I talking to tonight? Come on now. I speak life. Come on now. You have no idea. Get ready for what God's going to do. Get ready. Anticipate. Some guys think, oh, well, I'm too old. Are you crazy? What you talking about? You too old. Do you realize that in reference to eternity, you are young and you have no idea what God wants to do and who he wants to bring in your life? So all I can tell you is prepare and get ready and speak life. So back to our regular scheduled program. In a marriage sense, here's what's so important, because every man struggles between love and lust, even when you're married. Marriage is not a magic wand that just makes the dog go to sleep. It doesn't work that way. I thought it did. And I was like, oh, Lord, when I figured out that the dog was still alive and well, I said, baby, help me. I didn't know. I thought I was going to put it to sleep. And it didn't. And when I began to realize, I have a whole chapter about this in the book called Create a Safe Space. As men, we have to have a safe space to talk, especially within a relationship. And here is the challenge. A lot of times, women will say, we want the truth. And then men will give them the truth. And they will be like, how could you? What's wrong with you? Let me tell you something. In a safe space, there are ground rules. one of the biggest ground rules is you cannot judge what somebody says. And sometimes as a man, when we are vulnerable and we open up and the woman in our life gets angry or mad at us and makes us feel less than, it may be the last time we open up. We have to have a safe space where we can talk without fear of judgment, because there's a lot of things that are going on underneath the surface that we need to be able to talk about. And there is the safest place in the world to talk is with the person you are committed to do life with. I have a whole chapter in the book called Claim Your Territory. You have to safeguard your relationship. Relationships don't just protect themselves, right? So what's one of the things you got to do to protect your relationship? Make sure that in your relationship, you and your partner are the only ones meeting your emotional needs. So what does that mean for friendships? None. She said none. That's not true. No, don't go there yet. Here's what it is. She said, no, you can't have no friends. When you with me, you better put all the friends down. Not true. But with friendships of the opposite sex, you have to be mindful that those friends are not meeting your emotional needs in a way that is detrimental to the relationship. Also, you have to be careful that you're not confiding things in friends of the opposite sex that you should be confiding with your partner. I'm talking to somebody right now. Why? Because you're claiming your territory. You are locking down your relationship. Here's another thing. You got to sometimes monitor social media. Why?
I agree on that.
Amen. Why? Because social media can be a relationship killer. Because you end up spending more time on the phone than you do talking to your partner. And then we wonder why things aren't great, because we are giving Instagram our time, Facebook our time, not our partner. So important to say, hey, you know what? Let's come to an agreement about how we use social media. When we first get home, maybe we take an hour. We're like, you know what? We're just going to plug into each other. Everyone has to have different rules on how you do it, but don't just think it's going to manage itself by itself. When we decide we're going to lead with love, we have to be proactive. We have to take the initiative. We have to sometimes do things that others say are crazy in order to protect what we know is valuable. Here's one of the other reasons why I wrote the book. Hope. It is possible. Please do not believe the headlines. When you read the headlines and you say, and that's why I use this analogy to kind of turn this idea of men being dogs on its head, because we're not. And so I wanted to write this book to say, we can love. We can become better. Here's how we do it. We are all in this together. And so often, everybody just wants to write men off. And I'm saying, no, I'm not going to write men off, but I am going to put in place a process for us as men to do our work. And here's how we do it. And here's the role the women play in it. Just 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago, I did a Truth Talk with Terry Crews and Rebecca Cruz. Anybody know Terry Crews? Yeah. Give it up to them right now. We love them. And here's what was so powerful. And I'm going to read a section of the book, and then we're going to take some questions. We need to get a counselor involved. Meagan and I went to 4 months of pre-engagement counseling in order to work through a lot of these issues before we got married. So important to not just take this as status quo, because it will be a detriment to your marriage. This is a red flag that you got to work out now, so you both can learn how to communicate with each other better and doesn't sound like we complain. All right? Yes, we're here.
Hello, my name is Nicole Norman.
Hey, Nicole.
So what I'm hearing from this book now, and my favorite, The Wait. It's a lot of good information, but as again a millennial, being 23, and trying to present this to the guys or young men that I'm dating, it's a little difficult saying I'm 23 and I'm celibate, and it's like, whoa, you're not 30. Like, this isn't what we're doing. How do you use? How do you use?
It's 30 today.
But how do you use all of this great, substantial information that you're feeding into us right now in my generation, in my time, and not kind of like feeling like I'm fast forwarding 30 years?
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, just for a moment, let's fast forward 30 years for a minute. So, at 23, you're making a decision to preserve your wholeness, your heart, and your health.
I agree.
And in that moment, 23, you say, you know what? These young men are not protecting my wholeness, my heart, my health, and I want to be with one of them. So I will sacrifice protecting these 3 areas for the moment. In those moments when you do that against what you really know is in your heart, you end up being left with the damage that they inflict that corrupt your health, your wholeness, and your heart. Fast forward to 30. You do that enough times, it becomes hard to even know what's in your heart because it's been damaged so many times. So I would say, don't compromise your standards. There are great men out there, and there are young men that are trying to figure this out. Seek them out by saying, this is who I am. Yes, I want companionship, but I don't want to damage my self-respect for it. Because when we make an exchange for what we know is less than what we really want, we know it. Yeah. We know it. I shouldn't have done that. Oh man, why did I do that? So I would say, I know it's hard, but it's good. Because you're preserving the areas that will ultimately lead to your long-term success. And anyone at this age who isn't ready for that, God bless you. You're not ready for it. But I'm not going to let you take my heart, my health, and my wholeness. I'm going to work everything I can to protect those things, because those are the things that are going to lead me to be the woman I really want to be. And I know it's difficult. I know it's not easy. But I guarantee you, if you have those three things intact, when the right person comes along, it'll just take those things to the next level. Versus feeling like, well, I got to give them my body. Well, why is that the exchange? I mean, think about this. I was in Facebook, and I know she's standing here. That means I got to go. I'll say this last thing, and then this brother had a 10-second question. 10 seconds. I'm going to say this last thing. I was at Facebook a few weeks ago talking about the book, and a young woman asked a question. And so I said this. I said, after you date a guy for a month, would you give him the code to your phone? Anybody give him the code to your phone? Everybody say, no, I never give him the code to my phone. I said, now, I'm not trying to get into business, but in that same month in your history, have you given that guy your body? Y'all like, Devon, stop talking. Stop it. But if you don't trust him enough to give him the code to your phone, why would you give him the code to your body? It comes down to trust and decisions and making the best decisions to protect your heart, your health, and your wholeness. And at the end of the day, I would rather a man or a woman be single, preserving those things, than to compromise those things just to be with somebody who ultimately is going to leave and go get something else out anyway. My brother, last question, and we are done, and we're going to do book signs and pictures. Yes?
Coming from the young millennial male's perspective, I'm 21, I'm graduating college in May, and I'm an avid follower of God, practicing the way, and I'm not ashamed of it. But what can I do on my behalf, like she was saying, on the man's behalf? I feel like nobody really gets me like that. Like, I'm trying to practice the way, and I'm confessing to people, I'm clear of my intentions, but I still keep running into a brick wall. Like, I really want a woman of God that I can grow with over time. That's advice for that.
Oh, man, listen. Hey, stranger things are happening. Oh, man, and I said to her, protect your heart, your health, and you'd be surprised at how certain things just work out. First of all, you guys, I just want to read this last section and we're done. And this is the Master's Pledge. This is the pledge to love, and this is written for the men. So as I read this, for the men that are sitting, as you commit to this pledge, I would ask you to stand. And for the men that are already standing, as you commit to this pledge, I would ask you to raise your hand. Here we go. This is the Master's Pledge. 128. 128. Here we go. Here's the Master's Pledge, and then we're going to sign and get out of here, okay? The Master's Pledge. I pledge not to blame women for my actions. Women are never at fault when I lose control of the dog. Nothing a woman wears, says, drinks, or does is an excuse for improper touching, remarks, or sexual behavior ever. I pledge to never harass a woman, period. I pledge to stop looking the other way. If I witness a friend or colleague harassing a woman, I will say something. I pledge to stop making excuses for times when I behave badly. It's not the culture, peer pressure, porn, alcohol, or anything else. It's me. I pledge to confess my sins, apologize to whom I have offended, and live every day to make it right. I pledge to take a woman's no for an answer. No means no, period. It doesn't mean maybe. It doesn't mean try harder. I pledge to quit acting like my manhood is an entitlement for sex. It's not. I pledge to get the help I need if I struggle with anger or violence. I have to break the cycle of physical, psychological, and emotional abuse among men. I pledge to change my routine. If there's any part of my routine that makes me vulnerable to being less than I know I can be, I must change it. Here is the last part of the Master's Pledge. I pledge to take accountability for who I am and what I do. What I will be, I am now becoming. If you have stood or raised your hand, you have taken the Master's Pledge. For all the ladies in the house, would you give all the men in the house? Come on now. Come on. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. What's your name?
I'm Antonio.
Antonio. So they both are millennials, and they were talking about the challenges of being millennial and waiting and wanting to find the right person. And then, guess what? look, here we are.
This is so funny. Like,